Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my cute little cheerful, smart, intelligent, and brave friends. Welcome to the Story House, a place where we present to you an interesting story from the Quran every day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has narrated many stories in the Holy Quran, wise and delightful stories that bring you joy and inspiration, while we learn wonderful things from the true stories, old and new. So, let's embark on a thrilling journey to the world of the Quran. But before listening to the story, make sure you have completed all your tasks properly so that you can enjoy listening to the story uninterrupted. And I really admire all of you being a part of this story. The story that we have brought to you today can be found in the 17th juz in Surah Al-Anbiya. This story narrates about a father and a son. Both these father and son were dear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and both of them were the prophets of Allah. Can you recall who this father-son duo were? You're already aware of the story of a father-son duo, right? Yaqub and Yusuf alayhi salam. Well, this one, which we are talking about, another father and son, are Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam. In Surah Al-Anbiya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elaborated that Sulaiman alayhi salam and Dawood alayhi salam were his prophets. He had bestowed both of them with knowledge and granted them the unique ability of passing fair judgment. They would judge wisely and fairly when disputes arose between his people and would settle the matter amicably. One day, two individuals presented themselves before Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam. One of them had a farm, while the other had a herd of goats. It so happened that one night the shepherd's herd of goats strayed into a farmer's farm, destroying the crops that had been growing there. We all are well aware of the fact that goats graze very ferociously, leaving nothing. In the morning, the farmer noticed that all his field and the crops had been grazed and destroyed. He was distraught upon seeing this sight. He investigated to determine the culprit, and finally he came to know that whose goats had caused such destruction at night. When an argument ensued between them, they brought their case before Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam. The farmer claimed, "This shepherd had not enclosed his goats in the barn, and hence during the night, when there is no one to look out, these goats intruded into my field and grazed it entirely." On hearing this, the shepherd claimed, "These are just animals. I had closed them in their barn. Only Allah is aware of how they could have got out and grazed his field. I declare my innocence, and these goats are not humans for us to punish them." When the case was presented before Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam, Dawood alayhi salam passed the judgment that all the shepherd's goats be handed over to the farmer as compensation for the damages, since the shepherds are always found to be negligent in such cases. Dawood alayhi salam held the shepherd accountable and claimed that he had not enclosed them properly in their barn. The farmer whose field had been destroyed can now acquire money that would compensate for his loss either by selling off these goats or by selling their milk or meat. In a way, this was a form of punishment for the shepherd. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, who was still young and was seated beside his father, heard the case. He requested his father, "O father, by your permission, can I pass my judgment for this case?" When his father replied in affirmative, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam ruled that the shepherd should give away his herd to the farmer. The farmer would keep the sheep and make use of their milk and wool and earn money. The shepherd would be required to work in the damaged field until it gets restored to its original condition. As soon as the field is restored, it will be returned to its owner, and the herd of goats would be returned to the shepherd. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes, "And we have gave understanding of the case to Sulaiman," meaning that Sulaiman alayhi salam was able to judge fairly, Although Dawood alayhi salam had also passed a sound judgment, but sometimes it so happens that children understand a situation better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised Sulaiman alayhi salam and claimed, "We gave both of them judgment and knowledge." However, in this case, the judgment passed by Sulaiman alayhi salam surpassed his father. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also elucidates that He granted Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam with immense strength, a strength so tremendous that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the mountains and the birds subdued to him. When Prophet Dawood alayhi salam used to recite the verses of Zabur in his melodious voice, Zabur was a heavenly book similar to a Quran, the mountains and even the birds would join him in glorifying the Almighty. His voice was so melodious, a favor that was not granted to anyone before him, nor to anyone after him. When he would exalt and glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah, stones, birds, and even the animals would glorify and exalt with him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had endowed him with yet another gift, an exceptional strength. You know what it is? The ability to mold iron with his hands. Do you know iron can be molded only in fire, maintained at very, very high temperatures? Temperatures so excessive that if anyone goes near such fire, would surely be scalded. However, Dawood alayhi salam could mold iron with his bare hands in a manner like how you can play with Play-Doh and can make several shapes out of it. Due to this ability, he would make swords, knives, and iron armor worn by soldiers during battles. All these things were so easily made by him as we could mold different shapes with Play-Doh. Look at how extremely powerful Dawood alayhi salam was. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also describes that, "And we made the wind submissive to Sulaiman." This means that the wind was obedient to Sulaiman alayhi salam's commands. The wind would blow in a manner that Sulaiman alayhi salam commanded. If he commanded it to blow from left to right, then it would do so. If he ordered the wind to blow swiftly, then this would result in a storm. When he dictated the wind to blow gently, this would result in the blowing of a soft, gentle breeze. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was also able to travel to far places using this wind. It would pick him up and would take him to other places without the need of an aeroplane. Such traveling would occur at such incredible speeds that the distance traveled by him from morning to evening would be equal to the distance traveled in a month. What an incredible blessing! Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam was also bestowed with yet another strength. He could be considered to be the actual Superman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had placed the numerous jinns under his control. Among these jinns were some who, when commanded, would dive deep into the oceans and retrieve pearls. Some other jinns would construct huge buildings, cook food in huge cauldrons, and some would also build high-rise structures. There were numerous jinns that would obediently work for Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. In spite of all this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains that it was He who protected Sulaiman alayhi salam. Of course, we are all well aware of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a king of all kings. That's all for today. We will be back tomorrow yet again with a new and interesting story. And don't forget to pray for yourself and for all the Muslims around the world. If you like the story, please like, subscribe, and share it. Insha'Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.